And essentially, we are here to talk about one thing tonight, which is how to get rich. Now, more specifically, I'm going to show you how you can take times of economic trouble like the ones we're experiencing today and turn them into enormous wealth. I'm going to take you inside the black box investing strategies of the rich, and I'm going to show you how they really protect and grow their money. And I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of the single greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind that is happening right now at this very moment. Now, I realize this might seem like an odd topic to discuss right now. I mean, after all, the economy is on the verge of depression. Over 20% of the U.S. workforce is unemployed. The average baby boomer's portfolio has lost 30 to 40% of its value, and there is no true recovery in sight. So, given a presentation teaching people how to become financially wealthy during the worst economic conditions since the Great Depression seems a little counterintuitive, if not downright silly. But here's why the exact opposite is actually true. Wealth is never destroyed. It is only transferred from one person to another. So when your stock portfolio went down in value, that wealth was actually transferred to the guy who shorted the market. And when the subprime mortgage crisis hit and the value of housing went down, that money was actually transferred to guys like John Paulson and Steve Eisman, who made billions of dollars because they were short on those loans. So change creates opportunity, which is why more people became millionaires during the Great Depression than any other time in American history. And that single fact is why we are here together tonight. When massive change takes place, wealth transfers from one person's hands to another. And today we are living through the single largest wealth transfer in the history of humankind. So while it may seem a bit strange to talk about getting rich during what is unofficially a global economic depression, it is actually the best opportunity you will ever have during your lifetime to become very, very wealthy if you know how. But my primary passion and focus over the past 3 years has obviously become the economy and investing. Now, we're ready to dive in, and I thought I'd begin our journey here tonight with a story from the past, because understanding the past is, in my opinion, the key to predicting the future. And the ability to predict the future is the key to building incredible wealth. So let's start out with a little fairy tale. Once upon a time, life was tough for the largest empire that had ever spanned the globe. Unemployment levels were at all-time highs and getting worse. And as a result, people were saving money and spending less. And retail shops started to close their doors because of that, and layoffs increased as demand for products slowed. So in response, the government hired thousands of workers at inflated wages. The administration spent record amounts of money on public works projects, food programs to feed the population. And then they continued to increase the size of the military in order to protect their interests around the world. And as the massive cost for all of these programs continued to increase, the government had no choice but to print more money in order to pay the bills. Now, all of this would ultimately result in the hyperinflationary destruction of the currency and the fall of the empire. And I can say that with 100% confidence and certainty to you right now because it has already happened. Everything that I've just described was actually pulled from the pages of history and are recounting the final days of Rome in 301 AD under Emperor Gaius Diocletian. But if that sounds like a familiar storyline, then you've gotten my point. The trends that I've just described happened to Rome as they continued to expand their empire. And in order to fund the global expansion and wars, Roman leaders continually devalued their currency at the time, which was gold and silver. They did this by clipping coins and mixing them with lesser metals like copper year after year, reducing the value of every coin in the process. And this led to rampant inflation by the time Gaius took the throne in 284 AD, as it took more and more coins to buy the same amount of goods. So in 301, he issued his infamous Edict of Prices, which imposed the death penalty on anyone selling goods for more than the government-mandated prices, and then he froze all the wages. But prices continued to rise. Merchants could no longer sell their wares at a profit, so they closed their shops. People either left their chosen careers or just accepted welfare from the state. And at the time, Rome had a population of about 1 million citizens, and the government was handing out free wheat to 200,000 of them a day. That's 1 in 5. Well, today in the U.S., 1 in 4 children are now fed by government-subsidized food stamps, which is essentially our version of handing out free wheat. Now, here's a look at the massive exponential increase in food stamp reliance since 2007, which is absolutely unprecedented. But this chart only goes up to July right here of 2009, and it's at about 36 million people who rely on food stamps. Well, if we fast forward 18 months to today, that number has gone absolutely vertical, surging to 43 million participants as of December 2010, right here. Which means soon enough, 1 in 3 Americans are going to be relying upon government food stamps just to feed themselves. Now, because the economy was so poor back in Rome, Diocletian adopted a guns and butter policy, putting people to work by hiring thousands of new soldiers and funding numerous public works projects. Now, this effectively doubled the size of government and the military. Well, today, the U.S. government and all of its related agencies account for 50% of the U.S. GDP. Half of all of the dollars that the U.S. produces is as a result of government spending. Well, with the Roman government acting as the consumer and employer of last resort, deficit spending skyrocketed. All of this resulted in the world's first documented hyperinflation. All currency-based trade came to an end, the economic system reverted to barter, and the greatest empire in human history collapsed. Now, we often hear the saying that you can predict the future by studying the past. And while that may be true, I am admittedly not a major student of historic events, because I believe there is a more reliable predictor of the future, and that is human nature, which I am an avid student of. Because no matter how much our society has grown technologically, or how much knowledge that we've acquired, at the end of the day, we're all still human. And our decisions, and our patterns, and our behaviors are still dictated by the one thing we can never escape from, which is our nature, and our drive to avoid pain or pursue pleasure. So while many people may think that we as a nation are different than Rome today, that here in the year 2010 we've evolved and that we have the knowledge and technology to prevent or fix any challenge that may arise, they're forgetting the one and only thing that matters, and that is that we are still the same animal behind the wheel and that our nature has not changed.